Commander Sarah Chen pressed her hand against the cold metal wall and felt the station shake. The red warning lights made everything look like blood. Outside the thick windows of the command center, she could see the enemy ships. They looked like giant metal sharks floating in the dark space around Vesta Station. "How many ships do they have?" Chen asked her second-in-command, Lieutenant Torres. Torres looked at his screen and swallowed hard. "3 big warships, Commander. The kind that can destroy planets and about 30 smaller ones." Chen closed her eyes for a moment. 50,000 people lived on Vesta Station. Most of them were miners and their families. They had come here to dig valuable metals from the asteroid. They never thought they would have to fight for their lives. The enemy was called the Hegemony. They were not just one alien race, but many different ones working together. For months, they had been attacking human colonies. They said humans were too dangerous and had to be stopped. They wanted to wipe out every human settlement in space. "Commander," the radio operator called out, "the aliens are sending us a message." "Put it on the main screen," Chen said. A tall, thin alien appeared on the screen. Its skin was gray and its eyes were like black glass. When it spoke, the computer translated its words into English. "Humans of Vesta Station," the alien said. "I am War Leader Krex of the Hegemony Fleet. You have 6 hours to surrender. Give up now and we will let you live as our prisoners. If you fight us, we will destroy everything. Your choice is simple: surrender or die." The screen went black. The command center was quiet except for the hum of machines and the sound of people breathing hard. Torres looked at Chen. "Commander, what do we do? We only have 200 Marines and a few old patrol ships. They have enough firepower to turn this asteroid into dust." Chen walked to the big window and looked out at the alien fleet. The ships were huge and covered with weapons. Their technology was much better than anything humans had. She knew Torres was right. In a normal fight, they would lose in minutes. But Sarah Chen had been in the military for 20 years. She had fought pirates in the outer planets and helped stop rebellions on Mars. She knew something about humans that the aliens did not understand. "Torres," she said, turning around, "send a message to all department heads. I want them in the main meeting room in 10 minutes. "What should I tell them, Commander?" Chen smiled, but it was not a happy smile. It was the kind of smile a wolf makes before a fight. "Tell them we need to have a talk about how to kill some aliens." Within minutes, the meeting room was full of people. There was Chief Engineer Martinez, who kept all the machines running. Dr. Foster was there too. She was the scientist who studied rocks and knew everything about asteroids. Captain Walsh commanded the few security guards they had. And there were others. The head of the mining crews, the woman who ran the farms that grew their food, even the man who fixed their computers. Chen looked at all of them. These were not soldiers. They were ordinary people who had families and normal jobs, but now they were all she had. "You all know what is happening," Chen said. "The Hegemony wants us to surrender, or they will kill everyone on this station. We have 6 hours to decide." "Commander," said the mining chief, a big man named Peterson, "my people did not sign up to fight aliens. We came here to dig rocks and make money." "I know," Chen said, "and I am not going to order anyone to fight. But I want you to understand something. If we surrender, we become slaves. If we run, they will hunt us down. The only choice that lets us stay free is to fight." Dr. Foster raised her hand. "Commander, what can we do against warships? We have mining equipment and cargo ships. They have weapons that can destroy cities." Chen walked to the table in the middle of the room. She pressed a button and a map of the asteroid appeared above it. Vesta was huge, almost as big as a small planet. It was full of tunnels and caves from years of mining. "They think we will fight like a regular army," Chen said. "But we are not a regular army. We are miners and engineers and farmers. We know this asteroid better than anyone. We know every tunnel, every weak spot, every hiding place." Martinez leaned forward. "What are you thinking, Commander?" "The aliens are used to fighting other military forces," Chen said. "They expect us to line up our ships and have a space battle. They expect us to follow the rules of war. But what if we do not follow any rules? What if we fight like humans have always fought when someone tries to destroy them? Captain Walsh understood first. You want to turn the whole station into a weapon? Everything, Chen said. The mining machines, the cargo launchers, the asteroid itself. We use it all. Peterson scratched his beard. Commander, my mining charges could blow holes in their ships, if we could get them close enough. The mass drivers we use to launch ore containers, Martinez added, getting excited. We could fire other things with them. Heavy things. Fast things. Dr. Foster was looking at the asteroid map with new eyes. The rock structure here is not stable. If we set off explosions in the right places, we could break off chunks of the asteroid. Big chunks. Chen nodded. Now you are thinking like humans. The aliens have better ships and better weapons. But they do not understand how we think. They do not know that when humans get desperate, we become very dangerous. But Commander, Torres said quietly, a lot of people are going to die. The room became silent. Everyone knew he was right. Fighting the hegemony would not be like the movies. People would get hurt. Many would die. Chen looked at each person in the room. I will not lie to you. This will be terrible. Some of us will not survive. But if we do nothing, all of us will die or become slaves. Our children will never be free. Is that what we want? One by one, the department heads nodded. Even Peterson, who had been worried about his miners, agreed. Good, Chen said. We have 5.5 hours before they attack. Martinez, I want you to start working on turning our equipment into weapons. Foster, figure out how to use the asteroid against them. Peterson, get your people ready to move through the tunnels. Everyone. Else, prepare your departments for war. As the meeting ended and people hurried out to their jobs, Torres stayed behind. Commander, he said, do you really think we can win? Chen looked out the window at the alien fleet again. The ships were moving into attack positions. Soon, those weapons would start firing at her station and her people. Torres, she said, I have learned something in 20 years of military service. You should never bet against humans when they are fighting for survival. We do things that make no sense. To anyone else, we fight when we should run. We never give up when smart people would quit. She turned to face him. The aliens think they know what humans are like. They think we are just another species they can push around. They are about to learn that they are very wrong. Outside, the alien ships were getting ready to destroy Vesta Station. But inside, the station, 50,000 humans were getting ready to show the galaxy what happened when you threatened their home. The war to survive was about to begin. 3 hours after the meeting, Vesta Station looked like a giant anthill that someone had kicked. People were running everywhere, carrying tools and equipment. The normal quiet hum of the station had been replaced by the sound of machines being torn apart and put back together in new ways. In the main engineering section, Chief Martinez stood over a table covered with mining explosives. His team of engineers worked around him, their hands moving fast as they rewired the charges. These are designed to blast through solid rock, Martinez explained to his assistant Jenny Kim. But if we put them in metal containers and add some extra pieces, they become torpedoes. Jenny held up one of the modified charges. It was about the size of a football but much heavier. Will they really damage alien ships? One charge? Probably not much, Martinez said. But we are making 200 of them, and we are going to fire them all at once. Across the station, in the mass driver control room, a team of technicians was working on the huge magnetic launchers. These machines were normally used to throw containers of ore into space, sending them toward Earth and other human worlds. Each launcher was as long as a city block and could throw objects at incredible speed. The computer says we can modify the targeting system, said tech specialist Ryan Cole. Instead of launching ore containers, we can launch anything that fits. His supervisor, Maria Santos, looked at the list of things they were planning to shoot at the aliens. Steel rods, chunks of metal, even some of the small mining robots. This is crazy. Crazy is what humans do best, Ryan said with a grin. In the lower levels of the station, Dr. Foster was leading a team of geologists through the mining tunnels. They carried sensors and explosives, mapping out the weak points in the asteroids. Structure. Vesta is not one solid piece of rock, Foster explained to her team. It is made of many pieces stuck together over millions of years. If we place charges in the right spots, we can break off large chunks. Her assistant, Dr. Park, looked worried. But if we destabilize the asteroid too much, the whole station could fall apart. Foster nodded. That is the risk. But if we do nothing, the aliens will destroy us anyway. At least this way, we take some of them with us. They stopped at a junction where 3 tunnels met. Foster checked her scanner and pointed to a spot on the wall. Here, she said. If we blast this support point, the entire section 7 miles from here will break away. That chunk will be moving fast and heading right toward their fleet. Meanwhile, in the civilian sections of the station, something amazing was happening. People who had never held weapons before were learning how to fight. Parents were teaching their children how to run the life support systems while they went to help with the battle preparations. In the school, 16-year-old Marcus Chen, no relation to the commander, was working with a group of teenagers. They had taken apart the communication system and were building something new. If we can break into their radio signals, Marcus explained to his friends, we can confuse them, make them think our reinforcements are coming from different directions. His friend Lisa Martinez, Chief Martinez's daughter, was working on a different project. She had connected several gaming computers together to create a powerful system for tracking the enemy ships. My dad always said I spent too much time playing space combat games, Lisa said. Now those games might help save our lives. In the medical bay, Dr. Rachel West was preparing for the worst. She knew that when the fighting started, many people would be hurt. But she was also working on something else. She was studying the blood samples that had been taken from dead aliens found on other human worlds. Their biology is different from ours, she explained to her nurses. If we can find something that affects them but not us, we might have a weapon they do not expect. Back in the command center, Commander Chen watched the preparations through cameras all over the station. She could see her people working like they had never worked before. Miners were helping engineers. Scientists were working with soldiers. Children were helping adults with tasks that required small hands or quick thinking. Commander, Torres said, the alien fleet is moving closer. They will be in attack range in 1 hour. Chen nodded. She opened the station-wide communication system. Her voice went to every room, every corridor, every hiding place on Vesta Station. This is Commander Chen, she said. In 1 hour, the alien fleet will start shooting at us. They think they can scare us into giving up. They think humans are weak because we are not as advanced as they are. She paused, looking out at the alien ships getting closer. They are wrong. For millions of years, humans have survived by being tougher and more stubborn than anything that tried to kill us. We survived ice ages and plagues and wars. We learned to use fire and tools and machines. We never gave up, no matter how bad things got. All over the station, people stopped what they were doing to listen. Today, we face our greatest test. The aliens have better ships and better weapons. But they do not have what we have. They do not have the ability to take a mining station and turn it into a fortress. They do not have the courage to fight impossible odds. They do not have the human spirit that refuses to quit. In the engineering section, Martinez and his team finished their last improvised torpedo. In the mass driver control room, the launchers were loaded with makeshift ammunition. Deep in the asteroid, Foster's team finished placing the last of their charges. In a few minutes, we are going to show the galaxy what happens when you threaten a human home, Chen continued. We are going to fight with everything we have. We are going to use every tool, every machine, every piece of this station as a weapon. The alien fleet was now close enough that people could see the individual ships without using telescopes. The largest warship was moving toward the station's main docking bay. Remember, Chen said, we are not just fighting for ourselves. We are fighting for every human in space. We are fighting for our children and their children. We are fighting to prove that humanity will not be pushed around by anyone. She switched off the communication system and turned to her staff. All departments report status. Engineering ready, Commander. Martinez's voice came through the radio. Mass drivers ready. Santos reported. Geological charges in position, Foster said. Civilian teams ready, came reports from all over the station. Chen, looked at the tactical display. The alien ships were spreading out, surrounding the station. Their weapons were powering up, getting ready to fire. "All teams," Chen said into her microphone. "This is it. Remember, we do not fight like a normal military. We fight like angry humans defending our home. We hit them with everything at once, from directions they do not expect." She watched the countdown timer. 30 seconds until the aliens reached attack range. "Martinez, are you ready with those torpedoes?" "Ready, Commander. All 200 of them." "Foster, are your charges set?" "Ready to break this rock apart, Commander." "Santos, those mass drivers loaded?" "Loaded with 2 tons of metal death, Commander." Chen smiled. The aliens expected a normal space battle. They were about to get something very different. "Fire everything," she said. All over Vesta Station, humans pushed buttons and pulled levers and activated systems that had never been designed for war. But humans had always been good at making weapons out of tools. The war to survive had begun, and the aliens were about to learn their first lesson about fighting humans. There was no such thing as a fair fight when humanity's survival was at stake. The first human attack hit the alien fleet like a storm of metal and fire. 200 improvised torpedoes flew out from hidden launchers all around the station. The mass drivers hurled chunks of steel and modified mining robots at incredible speed. Deep in the asteroid, Dr. Foster's carefully placed charges exploded in sequence, breaking off a piece of rock the size of a city block. War Leader Krex watched from his command ship as the human weapons struck his fleet. Several of his smaller ships were damaged by the torpedo barrage. One frigate was completely destroyed when a steel rod from the mass drivers punched through its hull at 30,000 miles per hour. "Impossible," Krex said to his officers. "These are civilians, not warriors. How do they have such weapons?" His tactical officer, an insect-like alien named Vrix, studied the sensor readings. "War Leader, these are not military weapons. They appear to be mining equipment that has been modified." Krex's black eyes grew wide. In all his years of commanding hegemony fleets, he had never seen anything like this. Military forces had predictable weapons and tactics. But these humans were using their own tools and machines as weapons. "Return fire," Krex ordered. "Destroy their weapon systems." The alien warships opened fire with their plasma cannons. Beams of superheated energy struck Vesta Station, cutting through metal, like a hot knife through butter. Entire sections of the station exploded, venting air and debris into space. In the command center, Commander Chen felt the station shake as the alien weapons hit them. Red warning lights flashed as sections reported damage. "We have lost docking. Bay 7, Torres reported. "Hull breach in residential section 12. Emergency teams are sealing it now." Chen watched the damage reports pile up on her screen. Already hundreds of people were dead. But she also saw that their improvised attack had worked. 3 alien ships were disabled, and the others were not in their original formation anymore. "All teams prepare for Phase 2, Chen said into her radio. Deep in the mining tunnels, Peterson led a team of miners through passages that the aliens did not know existed. They carried more improvised explosives and some of the mining robots that had been turned into mobile bombs. "Remember," Peterson told his team, "we come up behind them, hit them hard, then disappear back into the tunnels. Do not try to fight them face to face. We are miners, not soldiers." The miners nodded. These were people who spent their lives in dangerous places, working with explosives and heavy machinery. They were not afraid of taking risks. Meanwhile, in the hydroponics bay where the station's food was grown, Dr. West and her medical team were working on something that no military manual had ever described. They were trying to create a biological weapon using the alien blood samples and the bacteria from their farming systems. "Their immune systems are different," Dr. West explained to her assistant as they worked over microscopes and chemical mixers. "What might be harmless to us could be deadly to them." It was dangerous work. If they made a mistake, they could create something that would kill humans too. But with the station being torn apart around them, they had to try everything. In the Yao civilian sections, Lisa Martinez and her team of teenagers had successfully broken into the alien communication system. They were now sending fake radio signals, making it sound like human military ships were approaching from several directions. They are trying to figure out where our reinforcements are coming from, Lisa reported to the command center. But there are no reinforcements, it is just us. Commander Chen knew that their surprise attack had bought them some time, but the aliens were already adapting. The hegemony ships were spreading out more, making it harder to hit multiple targets. With one attack, their return fire was becoming more accurate. Commander, Dr. Foster's voice came through the radio. I need to talk to you. I found something in the deep mining section. Chen left Torres in charge of the command center and met Foster in the lower levels of the station. They took a maintenance elevator down through the heart of the asteroid, past the living areas and work sections, down to where the mining crews had been digging for rare minerals. Look at this, Foster said, pointing to a wall of exposed rock. Even in the dim light, Chen could see that this rock was different. It had a blue-green color and seemed to glow slightly. What is it? Chen asked. Verenium, Foster said. It is one of the rarest elements in the solar system. The military has been looking for this stuff for years. It can make our shields stronger and our engines more powerful. Chen stared at the glowing rock. How much is there? Tons of it, Foster said. Maybe enough to build 100 new ships with technology that could match the aliens. Above them, the station shook again as more alien weapons hit the outer sections. Chen realized they had discovered something that could change the war, but only if they survived long enough to use it. Can we mine it during the battle? Chen asked. Foster shook her head. It would take weeks to extract it properly. But Commander, if we have to abandon the station, we could trigger an explosion that would scatter this material into space. Our ships could collect it later. Chen thought about this. The Verenium could give humanity the technology they needed to fight the hegemony on equal terms. But it would mean destroying the station and everything they had built here, back in the command center. Torres was coordinating the defense as more alien ships moved closer to the station. The human weapons were still causing damage, but the aliens were learning to avoid the worst of it. Commander, Torres said when Chen returned, we are running out of ammunition for the mass drivers, and the aliens have figured out how to track our torpedo launchers. They are targeting them specifically. Chen looked at the tactical display. The battle was going better than she had hoped, but worse than she had dreamed. They were hurting the aliens, but not enough. And every minute, more sections of the station were being destroyed. Martinez, she said into her radio, how are those atmospheric venting systems working? Ready to go, Commander, Martinez replied. But you know this is crazy, right? We will be using the station's air as rocket fuel. Chen had authorized another desperate plan. By venting atmosphere from damaged sections in a controlled way, they could actually move the entire station. It would be like turning Vestan Station into a giant, slow-moving spaceship. Do it, Chen ordered. All around the station, emergency valves opened and began releasing air into space. The escaping atmosphere created thrust, slowly pushing the massive asteroid out of its original position. The alien ships, which had been targeting specific areas of the station, suddenly found their targets moving. War leader Krex watched in amazement as the human station began to move. They are using their life support system as a propulsion system, he said to his officers. This is impossible. No civilized species would risk suffocating their own people. But Krex was learning that humans were not like any other species the hegemony had encountered. They seemed willing to risk everything, even their own lives, rather than surrender. The moving station made it harder for the aliens to target specific areas, but it also made life dangerous for the humans inside. As the asteroid slowly rotated, artificial gravity changed direction in some sections. People had to hold on to walls and furniture to avoid floating away. In the medical bay, Dr. West finally had success with her biological weapon project. She had created a strain of bacteria that would attack the alien respiratory system while being harmless to humans. We can put this into the air recycling system, she told Chen over the radio. If any aliens board the station, they will breathe it in. Chen approved the plan, even though it meant turning their own air into a weapon. Nothing was off limits. Now, they were fighting for survival, and humans had always been willing to do whatever it took to survive. But as she watched more sections of the station take damage, Chen knew they could not keep this up much longer. The aliens had more ships and better weapons. Eventually, they would overwhelm the station's defenses. That was when she made the hardest decision of her life. She called all department heads to an emergency meeting in the deep mining section, where Foster had found the Verinium. "We are going to destroy the station," she told them. "We will evacuate as many people as possible in the mining ships and cargo haulers. Then we will trigger every explosive we have left and turn this asteroid into the biggest bomb in human history." The room was quiet, except for the sound of distant explosions as the aliens continued their attack. "The Verinium will be scattered into space," Foster added. "Other human ships can collect it later. It will give us the technology we need to fight back." Martinez nodded slowly. "It could work, but a lot of people will not make it to the escape ships." Chen looked at each person in the room. "I know. But if we stay here, everyone dies. If we run, some of us live and humanity gets a chance to fight back." One by one, her department heads agreed. They would turn their home into a weapon and sacrifice everything to give humanity a future. The war to survive was about to become even more desperate. The evacuation of Vesta Station began in chaos and desperation. Throughout the asteroid's tunnels and corridors, families grabbed whatever they could carry and ran toward the docking bays where cargo ships and mining vessels waited. The station shook constantly now as alien plasma cannons carved away sections of their home. Commander Chen stood in the main cargo bay, helping load civilians onto a converted ore hauler. Children cried as their parents pushed them toward the ships. Elderly people who had spent their lives working in the asteroid's mines looked back at the only home they had known for decades. "Commander," Torres said, running up to her with a tablet full of numbers. "We have 47 ships ready to launch, but they were never designed to carry people. Life support will only last a few days." Chen looked at the numbers. 50,000 people lived on Vesta Station. The ships could carry 30,000 if they packed people in like cargo. That meant 20,000 would have to stay behind. "Who stays?" Torres asked quietly. Before Chen could answer, Chief Martinez approached them. Behind him walked dozens of engineers and technicians. "Commander, my people and I volunteer to stay. Someone has to keep the station running until everyone else gets away. Someone has to set off the final explosion." Dr. Foster joined them, along with many of the mining crew leaders. "The geological team stays too," she said. "We need to make sure the Verinium gets scattered properly when the asteroid breaks apart." Chen felt her throat tighten. These people were volunteering to die so others could live. "I cannot ask you to do this." "You are not asking," Peterson said, stepping forward with a group of miners. "We are telling you. This is our home. We built it. We worked here. We raised our families. Here. If it has to be destroyed, we want to be the ones to do it." More people came forward. Security guards who wanted to hold off alien boarding parties. Medical staff who would treat the wounded until the very end. Even some of the teenagers, like Marcus Chen and Lisa Martinez, who insisted they could help with the technical work. "Commander," Lisa said, "someone needs to keep jamming their communications. Someone needs to make sure the fake signals keep working until all the ships get away." Chen realized that these volunteers were not just being brave, they were being smart. The evacuation would only work if someone stayed behind to fight the aliens and run the station systems. "All right," she said finally. "But we do this right. No heroic last stands, no wasted deaths. We stay alive as long as possible and make every minute count." As the civilian ships began launching, slipping away from the station through exit tunnels that the aliens had not yet discovered, the remaining defenders prepared for the final phase of their plan. Martinez led his engineering teams to the fusion reactor that powered the station. They began the delicate work of overloading it in a controlled way. If they did it wrong, the reactor would explode immediately and kill everyone. If they did it right, they could set it to blow up exactly when they wanted. "The reactor has safety systems that prevent overload," Martinez explained to his team. "We are going to remove every safety system and then push the reactor beyond its limits. When we are ready, we can trigger an explosion that will crack this asteroid in half." Meanwhile, Dr. Foster and her geological team were placing the last, of their charges in the deep mining tunnels. They had identified the exact points where explosions would break the asteroid apart and scatter the Verinium into space in the most useful pattern. "The alien ships are positioned here, here, and here," Foster said, pointing to a three-dimensional map. "When the asteroid breaks up, the pieces will fly in these directions. If we time it right, the debris will hit their fleet like a shotgun. Blast." In the upper levels of the station, Captain Walsh and his security teams were preparing for the alien boarding parties that would surely come. The station's air recycling system was now carrying Dr. West's biological weapon. But they could not count on that alone. "They will try to board us when they realize we are evacuating," Walsh told his people. "Our job is to slow them down and keep them away from the reactor and the mining charges." The security teams had set up barricades in the main corridors and hidden weapons caches throughout the station. They were not soldiers, but they knew the station better than any invader ever could. In the command center, Commander Chen coordinated everything while watching the alien fleet on her tactical display. War Leader Krex's ships were moving closer, probably getting ready to board the station and capture any humans they could. "Commander," Torres said, "the last civilian transport just launched. All non-essential personnel are away." Chen nodded. Now only the volunteers remained. About 2,000 people who had chosen to stay behind and die for humanity's future. "All remaining personnel," Chen announced over the station's communication system. "This is the final phase. We hold this station for as long as possible. We hurt them as much as we can. And when the time comes, we make sure our sacrifice means something." The first alien boarding pods hit the station's outer hull an hour later. They punched through the metal walls like bullets through paper and began disgorging troops into the corridors. The aliens that came out of the pods were unlike any humans had seen before. Some looked like giant insects with armored shells and multiple arms. Others were tall and thin with gray skin and large black eyes. All of them carried advanced energy weapons. Captain Walsh and his teams met them in the main corridors. The humans had taken cover behind overturned tables and metal barriers. They fired mining lasers and improvised weapons at the invading aliens. "They are trying to reach the command center," Walsh reported to Chen over his radio. "But we are slowing them down." The fighting was brutal. The aliens had better weapons and armor, but the humans knew every shortcut and hiding place in the station. They would attack from behind, then disappear into maintenance tunnels before the aliens could respond. In the medical bay, Dr. West watched her biological weapon take effect. Several of the alien invaders began showing signs of respiratory distress. They moved more slowly and seemed confused. "It is working," she reported to Chen. "Their breathing is becoming difficult, but it will not stop them completely." As the battle raged through the station's corridors, Martinez and his engineering team finished their work on the reactor. The fusion core was now running far beyond safe limits, held in check only by a few manual controls. "Commander," Martinez reported, "the reactor is ready. When you give the word, I can trigger an overload that will crack this asteroid in two." Dr. Foster's team had also completed their preparations. Charges were placed throughout the asteroid's structure, ready to break it apart in exactly the right way. "Geological charges are in position," Foster reported. "When the reactor goes, these charges will ensure that the Verinium scatters in the right direction for our ships to collect later." In the command center, Chen watched the tactical display as more alien ships moved closer to the station. Soon they would have too many troops aboard for the human defenders to stop. "Torres," she said, "send a signal to all the evacuation ships. Tell them to get as far away as possible, and tell them to be ready to collect debris after the explosion." Torres sent the message, then looked at Chen. "Commander, we should go to the escape pods. There are still a few left." Chen shook her head. "Someone has to coordinate the final explosion. Someone has to make sure it happens at exactly the right moment." She looked around the command center at the people who had chosen to stay. Martinez, Foster, Walsh, Torres, and dozens of others who could have escaped but decided to stay and fight. "Listen," she said to all of them. "In about 10 minutes, we are going to trigger the biggest explosion in human history. We are going to destroy this station and take a good chunk of the alien fleet with us. But more importantly, We are going to scatter enough verinium into space to give humanity the technology it needs to fight back. Outside the command center, they could hear the sounds of fighting getting closer. The alien troops were slowly pushing through the human defenses. When our people collect that verinium and build new ships with it, Chen continued, they will remember what happened here. They will remember that 2,000 people chose to die rather than surrender. They will remember that humans never give up. Captain Walsh's voice came over the radio. Commander, the aliens have broken through Sector 7. They will reach the command center in 5 minutes. Chen looked at the reactor display. The fusion core was running so hot that it was beginning to destabilize the asteroid's structure just by itself. All teams, she said into her microphone, prepare for final detonation. Make sure you are all together. No one dies alone. Throughout the station, the remaining defenders stopped what they were doing and moved toward their designated gathering points. Engineers met in the reactor room. Scientists gathered in the geological lab. Security teams assembled in the main corridor. They were about to become heroes and they knew it. Martinez, Chen said, on my mark, trigger the reactor overload. Ready, Commander. Foster, detonate the geological charges 30 seconds after the reactor goes. Ready, Commander. Chen looked one last time at the tactical display. Beware. Alien fleet was so close now that the explosion would definitely hit them. War leader Krex and his ships had no idea what was about to happen. For humanity, Chen said. For humanity, everyone replied. Chen pressed the button. The explosion was visible from Mars. When the fusion reactor overloaded, it released more energy than a dozen nuclear bombs. The blast vaporized the center of Vesta Station instantly, turning metal and rock into superheated plasma. 30 seconds. Later, Dr. Foster's geological charges detonated in perfect sequence, breaking the asteroid apart like a giant stone being hit with a hammer. War leader Krex had exactly 3 seconds to realize what was happening before his flagship was hit by a chunk of rock moving at 30,000 miles per hour. The piece of asteroid punched through his ship's shields and armor like they were made of paper. His last thought was amazement that these primitive humans had turned their own home into a weapon. The hegemony fleet was caught completely by surprise. The 3 massive warships were too close to escape the expanding debris field. Smaller pieces of the asteroid, some no bigger than cars but moving faster than bullets, tore through alien hulls and shattered their formations. In the space around, where Vesta Station had been, chunks of glowing blue-green rock scattered in all directions. The verinium that Dr. Foster had discovered was now spread across millions of cubic miles of space, ready to be collected by any human ship, brave enough to enter the debris field. Captain Elena Rodriguez commanded the cargo ship New Frontier, one of the evacuation vessels that had escaped from Vesta Station. She watched the explosion through her ship's rear cameras, tears streaming down her face. They did it, she whispered to her crew. They actually did it. The bridge of the New Frontier was packed with refugees from the station. Children pressed against the windows, watching their home disappear in a ball of fire and debris. Adults held each other and cried for the friends and family members who had stayed behind. Captain, her first officer said, we are receiving signals from the other evacuation ships. Everyone made it out safely. Rodriguez nodded. 30,000 people had escaped in 47 ships. It was not everyone who had lived on Vesta Station, but it was more than anyone had thought possible when the hegemony fleet first arrived. Set course for the inner system, Rodriguez ordered, and start scanning for verinium chunks. We need to collect as much as we can. Over the next several hours, the evacuation fleet worked together to gather the scattered alien material. The mining ships and cargo haulers used their equipment to capture chunks of the glowing rock and store them in their holds. Dr. Sarah Kim, one of the scientists who had escaped, worked with the ship's computers to analyze the verinium samples. What she found was better than anyone had hoped. This material is incredibly pure, she reported to the fleet commanders. With enough of it, we could build ship hulls that are stronger than anything the aliens have. We could create energy weapons that match their plasma cannons. We could even improve our engines to travel faster than their ships. The news spread through the refugee fleet like wildfire. The people who had lost their homes and watched their friends die began to understand that their sacrifice had not been for nothing. But the evacuation fleet was not the only group collecting verinium. Word of the explosion had spread throughout the solar system, and human military ships were racing toward the debris field. Admiral Marcus Thompson arrived 3 days later with a fleet of 12 warships. He was the commander of Earth's Outer System Defense Force, and he had been fighting a losing war against the hegemony for months. "Captain Rodriguez," Admiral Thompson said over the radio, "I am taking command of this operation. We need to collect every piece of verinium we can find and get it to our shipyards as quickly as possible." Rodriguez agreed, but she had a condition. "Admiral, these people lost everything to get this material. When we build new ships with it, I want some of them to be commanded by the people who were at Vesta Station." Thompson agreed. Over the next 2 weeks, human ships from across the solar system arrived to help collect the verinium. Engineers and scientists worked around the clock to analyze the material and figure out how to use it. The first new ships, built with verinium technology, were ready 6 months later. They were called the Vesta class, in honor of the station and the people who had died to make them possible. Captain Rodriguez commanded the first Vesta-class ship, the Sarah Chen, named after the commander who had led the defense of the station. Her crew was made up entirely of survivors from Vesta Station. The Sarah Chen and her sister ships were unlike anything humanity had ever built before. Their hulls were nearly indestructible. Their weapons could punch through alien shields. Their engines could outrun hegemony warships, but most importantly, they carried something that could not be measured by instruments: the fighting spirit of people who had watched their friends die rather than surrender. The first battle between the new human fleet and the hegemony took place near Jupiter's moons. A hegemony task force was attacking a mining colony when the Vesta-class ships arrived. War leader Thix commanded the alien fleet. He had heard stories about what happened at Vesta Station, but he did not believe them. No species would destroy their own home just to hurt their enemies. "These are the same primitive humans we have been defeating for months," Thix told his officers. "Their new ships may look different, but they are still weak." He was wrong. The Sarah Chen opened fire first, her verinium-enhanced weapons cutting through alien shields like they were not even there. The other Vesta-class ships spread out in a formation that the hegemony had never seen before, moving too fast for the alien gunners to track. Within an hour, the entire hegemony task force was destroyed. Not a single human ship was lost. Captain Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the Sarah Chen, looking out at the wreckage of the alien fleet. She thought about Commander Chen and Chief Martinez and Dr. Foster and all the others who had died to make this victory possible. "This is for Vesta Station," she said quietly. Over the next year, the war in the outer system began to change. Human ships built with verinium technology started winning battles that they would have lost before. The hegemony, which had seemed unstoppable, began to retreat. But the real change was not in technology. It was in the way humans fought. The story of Vesta Station spread throughout human space. People learned that when a small group of miners and engineers had faced impossible odds, they had refused to give up. They had turned their own home into a weapon. They had sacrificed everything so that humanity could survive. Other human colonies started fighting back with the same desperate courage. When the hegemony attacked a farming station near Saturn, the colonists rigged their greenhouses to explode and took out 2 alien cruisers. When aliens tried to capture a research station near Pluto, the scientists turned their laboratory equipment into weapons and fought until the last person. The aliens began to realize that humans were different from any species they had ever fought. Other races would surrender when faced with superior force. Humans would blow up their own cities rather than become slaves. Admiral Thompson, now commanding a fleet of 50 Vesta-class ships, sent a message to the hegemony leadership. "You wanted to destroy humanity because you thought we were dangerous. You were right. We are dangerous. We are dangerous to anyone who tries to take away our freedom. We are dangerous to anyone who threatens our families. We are dangerous to anyone who thinks they can push us around just because they have better technology." The message was broadcast on all frequencies, reaching every hegemony ship and base in the solar system. You started this war because you were afraid of what humans might become, Thompson continued. Now you know. We became exactly what you feared. We became a species that will never surrender, never give up, and never stop fighting for what we believe in. The war was far from over, but the balance had shifted. The hegemony still had more ships and better technology, but they no longer had the advantage of fear. Humans had learned that they could fight back. They had learned that sacrifice and courage could overcome superior force. And in the asteroid belt, where Vesta Station had once orbited, there was now a memorial made of verinium and steel. It carried the names of everyone who had died in the battle, along with a simple message. They chose to die as free humans rather than live as slaves. Their sacrifice gave us the stars. The memorial was guarded by a small fleet of Vesta-class ships, commanded by the survivors of the station. They made sure that anyone who passed through the area could read the message and understand what had happened there. The war to survive had become the war to thrive. Humanity had learned that even when facing impossible odds, they could find a way to fight back. They could turn mining equipment into weapons, asteroids into bombs, and even their own homes into tools of war. The galaxy had learned something too. It had learned that when you threaten a human's family, their home, or their freedom, you should be prepared for a fight that will never end. Because humans, more than any other species in the galaxy, understood a simple truth. Some things are worth dying for, and freedom is always one of them. The stars belong to humanity now, and they would never give them up.